Hey everyone, Voice Drifter here, and I thought I'd take a stab at doing video patch notes as suggested on the Muff Wigglers forum. I've also seen a few other guys on YouTube doing this and thought it was a pretty cool format, so let me know if you're into it, and I'll try and do these kinds of things for future videos. But without further ado, basically we have a 3-synth pattern that you just saw. We got a bass line in the middle mother there, and sort of a plucky lead on top, and then a performed lead on the bottom played via the Arturia Keystep there. And then underneath the whole thing, we did also have a 4 on the floor bass drum pattern courtesy of Tip Top BD808. Just kind of holding it down. But the majority of this patch revolves around this bass sequence. Not too fancy in the patch bay there, pretty empty. It's just using the default signal flow of a square wave oscillator going through a filter and a little bit of LFO modulation on the filter there. A lot of the energy comes from the sequence, which is using a little bit of accenting, a little ratcheting, and some slide for kind of that TV303 style sequencing. But that also is going out to my mixer, and then through the Strymon Big Sky for a little bit of room ambience there. And this sequence is also clocked by my DLD, 4MS DLD. So I got the clock out coming into a mult right here, and then I'm splitting that out to a few different destinations. So that DLD is actually my primary clock source right now for all of the patterns. So the bass line, the lead up top, as well as that kick that you heard before. In addition to that bass line, we have this sort of plucky pattern up top. And again, it's a very simple patch, just a square through a filter. But it's only a 7-note pattern there, so you get a bit of a polyrhythm with the bass line. A lot of harmonic interest there, as well as rhythmic. And then when I was playing it, I was just kind of playing with the cutoff a bit, as well as the decay time. Now you'll notice that there is a lot of stereo activity happening there. And again, that is going through my mixer, and I've got a send return track with these yellow cables going into the DLD. And you'll notice that the DLD, it's a stereo delay. So different delay times in the left and right there for a nice wide sound. But you'll notice the reverse lights are flashing on and off there. And the way I achieve that is using the trigger in for those reverse delays. And that's coming from mutable branches, mutable instruments branches. So this is a Bernoulli gate. Basically, it'll take a gate signal and feed it to one of 2 outputs. And it does this 2 times. And I use this as sort of a hidden weapon in a lot of my patches. Basically right here, I'm taking that clock source I was telling you about into the mult, and then out into branches here. And with this set at 50%, it'll actually randomly determine whether to send that trigger out A or out B. And with both of those going to my left and right reverse signals down here, it'll randomly determine whether or not to turn on or off the reverse delay. So it creates a lot of rhythmic interest from relatively simple parts. I did also use the channel 2 of branches to sort of clock divide that clock source to get a slower interval for my kick drum pattern. So you can ignore this one, that's actually not going anywhere, but this one's going down to that BD808 gate input. Anyway, moving on to the mother on the bottom here. This was the part that I was playing on the Arturia Keystep. And you'll notice, you may have noticed, as I was playing notes, I was playing this touch strip on the left. And the cool thing about the Arturia Keystep is that it actually, in addition to being a traditional MIDI controller with MIDI outputs, it has CV outputs. So it works great with Eurorack modular synths. And in this case, I'm sending the pitch output to the voltage per octave input on the Moog. And I'm sending the gate to the gate on the Moog. But I'm sending this mod source out to my mult. And then I'm splitting it into two different destinations. One of them is basically just going straight into a channel of veils just for attenuation, just so I can control the amount of modulation happening there. And then I'm routing out from there into the filter cutoff. So as I'm playing that note, you'll hear I'm opening the filter. And if I go to veils and I turn up this channel a little bit when I play that note, get much more extreme opening of that filter. The second destination for that mod amount is, again, going into another channel of veils, but in this case, it's actually going into the amount, the VCA amount, rather than the actual input source of the VCA. Because the source of this channel is my triangle LFO from the Moog. And so by sending this touch strip to the amount, I'm basically dictating how much LFO modulation I want to apply to my pitch, my VCO modulation. So basically, again, as I increase as I move up on that touchpad there, I'm adding more vibrato to the sound. So this gets really expressive, as you saw in the video there, and makes my modular very fun to play. And again, that mod source can go out to anything you want, anything that you can CV control. So it doesn't have to be those two specific parameters. So having a lot of fun with this thing. I haven't even done a video yet on some of the fun that can be had with the arpeggiator and built-in sequencer, but expect that stuff soon. But yeah, that's basically the patch. Let me know if you have any further questions, and happy to talk about them in the comments there. But other than that, I will catch you guys next time. Later.